Hammaga eshitilyaptimi?
Eshitilyapti. Meniki eshitilyaptimi?
Eshitilyapti. Hop. Dars boshlanishdan oldin hammaga eshitilayotgan bo'lsa, bu dars ingliz tilida bo'ladi. Shuning uchun menimcha ingliz tilida eshitishga tayyor bo'lsanglar kerak. Tayyormisizlar?
Are you ready?
Alo.
Keling.
Assalomu alaykum.
Va alaykum assalom.
Ingliz tilini bilmaydiganlarchi?
Videosi keyin jo'natiladi, videoni ko'rasizlar. Hop, bu ingliz tilini bilmaydiganlar bo'lsa, men ora-orada o'zbek tilida ham aytib ketaman. Tushunarlimi?
Xo'p.
Xo'p, tushunarli.
Okay. Boshda hamma mikrofonni o'chirib olsin-da, keyin kimda savol bo'lsa, mikrofonni yoqib, xohlagan payt savol berish mumkin. Kelishdingmi?
Xo'p.
So, good morning, everyone. My name is Erkin Kurganov. I am an assistant professor at Kyoto Institute of Technology. And today I would like to start our biophysics lectures series. And we have 5 lecture series in this week, starting from today. That's Monday, November 9th, 2020. And every day we have 1 lecture and 1 seminar about biophysics, biophysical methods, what's biophysics law, and especially why do we need biophysics, okay? Men Ismoilxo'ja Kurganov, bugun sizlarga biofizika leksiyalarini boshlaymiz. Hop, haftada har kuni bittadan leksiya va bitta seminar bo'lib o'tadi. Boshda men inglizcha gapirib ketaman-da, oxirida vaqtimiz qolsa o'zbekchasini qilib beraman. Okay? So, first let me introduce myself a little bit so that you know who are you dealing with, okay? I'm assistant professor at Kyoto Institute of Technology. This is Kyoto Institute of Technology, the main building. And this institute has 4 main faculties, which are applied biology, which I'm working now, and material science, this is applied chemistry, and engineering design and design architecture, okay? And this is the building where I work on the 2nd floor here. So, and what am I doing in Kyoto is I am working with mouse mainly, and my focus is on brain temperature, especially how our brain sense the temperature and how our body sense the temperature, and how our brain and body have interconnection between them in order to control the brain temperature. And also another, my interest is sleep. And as you can see here, we mainly work on mice. And this is our kind of setup which we use to measure the body temperature of the mouse. Okay, and so let me explain you about the biophysical lecture syllabus. Syllabus means that we have here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lectures, and these are the lecture syllabus. So today we're gonna learn how the biophysics evolved. Okay, the introduction to biophysics. And then tomorrow, on Tuesday, we'll learn about cell membrane biophysics. What's a cell membrane? Why do we need cell membrane? What's the function of the cell membrane? And how biophysics teach us about the cell membrane, okay? And the third is muscle biophysics. You know, our body consists of mainly the nerve fibers and the bone and the muscle, which interaction of these three organs led us to walk, to make our movement. So that's why muscle biophysics is really important, and we should know how do we walk, why do we walk, what happens when do we walk, okay? Even when I'm speaking now, I'm using a lot of muscles in my body, especially using my tongue, which explaining you our today's lecture, okay? And the fourth is nerve impulses. Nerve impulse, it's mainly action potential and ion channels. So why do we need nerve impulses in biophysics is that whatever we do, whatever we hear or whatever we taste or speak, so we use action potentials and ion channels in our body. Okay, so that's why this is also one of the most important parts of biophysics. And the fifth is gen technology. Okay, so maybe you are not familiar with this, but I will explain. O'rtoq studentlar, mikrofonlarni o'chirib olinglar. Yoningizdagilar xalaqit beryapsizlar. Hop, biofizikada bu hafta o'tadigan leksiyalarimizning mavzulari bular: biofizikaga kirish, hujayra membrana biofizikasi, muskul biofizikasi, nerv impulslari, harakat potensiali va ion kanallar va gen texnologiyalar.
Hammasiga bitta iltimos. Hamma bolalarga ayting, ovoz hammasi minusga zvukni o'chirib qo'yinglar, faqat tinglasalaring bo'ldi. Bolalar, hammalaring ovozlaringni o'chirib olinglar, shovqin kelyapti.
Hozir men
Hamma tomoshali yuribman-da. Hali ham chatlamsan. Senga zo'r nima ko'rsatmoqchi edim.
Ishlarni och.
Gapsan.
Gapsan? Hurmatli talabalar, keyin gaplashasizlar. Mikrofonni o'chiringlar-chi. Gruppadan chiqib olib, darsdan keyin bemalol gaplashaverasizlar, xo'p?
Okay, so let's start. Continue. So these are the main syllabus, and next is, let me explain you what's biophysics. Mainly, a lot of people think that biophysics is a kind of subject that divided into two parts. So mainly like physics for biologists or physical methods applied to biology, okay? Or biophysics is a combination of two subjects, the biology and the physics. But is it really true in real life? So far, our knowledge shows that it's not true, and the biophysics is much more complicated than just biology and physics. Okay, and it's a modern interdisciplinary field of science leading to new approach for understanding of biological functions. This is one of the terms that describes what biophysics is. Actually, the modern society accepts biophysics as a mathematics plus physics plus biology and plus chemistry. Okay, why? So imagine that we have some kind of experiment, and in this experiment the target is a human body. Okay, and that human body is studied by biology, right? So it's a biology, but in order to study, we need the chemistry. We need some kind of buffers. We need some kind of chemical elements or substances. And of course, we need a physics, which we use the physics law, like Brownian activity or thermodynamics or any kinds of physics. And finally, we need mathematics to calculate all these actions, how this happens, in which speed. That's why biophysics consists of at least 4 subjects: mathematics, physics, biology, and chemistry. And there is a paradigm which shows a biological system is not simply the sum of its molecular components, but it's rather their functional integration. Okay, and the biophysics mainly scale from organism to single molecule, and the time scales from years to femtoseconds. And this figure simply shows what biophysics is mainly, how does it work and what does it do. So in Uzbek, biofizikani qanaqa fan? Biofizikani ko'pchilik biologiya va fizika fanlaridan tashkil topgan fan deb o'ylaydi. Ya'ni faqat biologiyani qonunlari, fizika qonunlari yo'q. Aslida biofizika hozirgi darajada ko'rsatilgan bo'yicha biofizika bundan ham faqat biologiya va fizikadan emas, balki bu yerga ximiya va matematika fanlari ham qo'shiladi. Masalan, bitta organizmni o'rganmoqchi bo'lsak, bu organizm biologiya bo'ladi, to'g'rimi? Endi o'sha biologik organizmni biz o'rganayotganda, eksperiment qilayotganda albatta kimyoviy moddalarni ishlatamiz, kimyoviy reaksiyalarni ishlatamiz. Demakki, bu yerda kimyoni o'zining roli bor. Va albatta bu reaksiyalarni amalga oshirish jarayonida biz fizik qonuniyatlarga murojaat qilishimiz kerak. Demakki, o'z-o'zidan biofizika 3 ta fan bo'ldi. Endi mana shu qonuniyatlarni hisoblayotganda bizga matematik tenglamalar kerak bo'ladi, matematik sollar kerak bo'ladi. Demakki, biofizika hozirgi kunda eng kamida biologiya, matematika, fizika va kimyo fanlarining umumiy jamlanmasidan iborat degan fikrga olib keladi. Endi biologik sistema deganda masalan deylik, masalan organizm organlardan tashkil topgan, organlar to'qimalardan, to'qimalar esa bevosita hujayralardan tashkil topgan, to'g'rimi? Endi biologik sistema ana shu narsalarni yig'indisi deb qaralmaydi, balki ular qanaqangi funksiya, qanaqangi vazifa bajarishiga qarab turib, bularni biologik sistema deb atash bo'ladi. Endi ana o'sha sistemalar, biologik sistema qanday vazifani bajarishini mohiyatini o'rganmoqchi bo'lsak, ya'ni mexanizmini qanday bo'ladi? Albatta mana shu narsaga biofizika javob beradi. Keyingi har bitta fanda o'zini so'raydigan savollar bo'ladi. Ya'ni let me speak in English first, okay? So what are biophysical questions? So every subject that we are learning and that we are studying has its own special questions, okay? So for example, the biophysics subject has problems to solve in real life, which we are indeed need these problems and the answers for these problems, okay? So the first is that how brain processes and stores information. So we have a brain in our head, right? As you can see here in this figure. And how does brain process, we still don't know. And more than 1,000 papers each year published in PubMed or in any other kind of journals, but we still don't understand how this brain process functions. And another information is the search information is about how we do store information. That's also another question neuroscientists are trying to find out, and it's a little bit difficult for them to find the answer for this question. And the second is how the heart pumps blood. Okay, this is also another biophysical questions. We know that there are 4 parts of the heart, and then the aorta and the main vessels. But how this heart excites or integrates within its muscle. So this is a kind of muscle biophysics that we should answer. And the third is how muscles contract, as I can see, as I said here. So you can see this is a muscle fiber and this is a nerve. So innervation of the skeletal muscle by nerve is also another problem for the biophysical society. Okay, and so far I know your group is mainly focused on the agriculture. So, and there is another problem that's for agricultural society, how plants use light or grow in photosynthesis. So this is about photosynthesis is also belong to biophysics because there are a lot of mechanisms that we should learn. We also will answer to this question in our lectures. And also one of the most important part is how genes are switched on and off, as you can see here. So the genes switching off and on is really important. And if you know that this year there was a paper, that there was a group that got the Nobel Prize. O'zbekchasi tezda. Biofizikani o'ziga xos qonunlari bor, o'ziga xos savollari bor, o'ziga xos muammolari bor. Bularni yechish kerak bo'ladi. Bular masalan qanaqa qilib miya ishlaydi va informatsiyani o'zimizda saqlaymiz. Bu haligacha juda murakkab savol va biofiziklar buni ham o'rganyapti. Keyingisi qanaqa qilib yurak qonni haydab beradi. Biz bilamiz yurakda qon aylanish tizimini, lekin haqiqiy mexanizmi haligacha namoyon bo'lmagan. Uchinchisi, qanaqa qilib muskullar qisqaradi. Hani ko'rib turganingizdek, muskullar nerv innervatsiya qilish orqali qisqaradi. Bu muskullar biofizikasiga tegishli. Va sizlar qishloq xo'jaligi va bog'dorchilikka ixtisoslashgan guruhda bo'lganingiz uchun sizlar uchun eng muhim kerak bo'lgan degani o'simliklar fotosintez jarayonida yorug'likni yutishi qanaqa bo'ladi? Bu jarayonni biofizika o'rganadi. Demak, buni ham o'rganamiz. Va eng muhimlardan biri bu qanaqa qilib genlarni o'chirib yoqish bo'ladi. Va esingizda bo'lsa, agar kimgadir qiziqqan bo'lsa, bu yilgi Nobel mukofotini aynan mana shu dastur oldi. Va tezlashamiz. So let me explain the history of biophysics, okay? So the first biophysicists, scientists were in Heraclitus in century BC, 5th century, and what he did is about mechanistic theories of life processes. He learned about the dynamics, okay, and then his famous phrase is "change is central to universe." And 3rd century of BC, Epicurus, he found out about the atom. Okay, and the living organisms follow the same laws as non-living objects. It was not so correct about this one, but his works belongs also to the biophysics. And the 2nd century of AD, the Galen, he was a physician, the most accomplished medical researcher of the Roman period, and his theories dominated Western medicine for over. But later, in the 16th century, Leonardo da Vinci, he learned about mechanical principles of bird flight used for engineering design. He learned about mainly bionics. And if you know that today's airplanes and some kind of planes use this kind of bird flight system that were learned by Leonardo da Vinci. And 17th century, Giovanni Alfonso Borelli, his workings related to animals, to machines, and utilize mathematics to prove his theories. And this is a very old history of biophysics, but modern history of biophysics learned a lot about the atom structure and the protein structure, amino acid sequence, and later then the gene turn on, turn off, and also about the protein and the microscopes. So regarding the practical biophysics, history of biophysics led us to learn about Luigi Galvani, and also Alessandro Volta. And they learned bioelectrochemistry. Okay, in 1771, Galvani touched a frog nerve with charged scalpel. As you can see here, so this was the first biophysical experiment led by Luigi Galvani. And here I show you how they did this kind of experiments. Okay, so as you can see here, this is a frog, especially the long leg, and there is a sciatic nerve here. Okay, and there are two different metal objects, and if you touch the sciatic nerve with one metal and the other one with a muscle, as you can see here, and if you combine these two metals together, the leg of the frog twitch. So that's how the muscle is innervated by the nerve, and that's how the early scientists found out about the batteries. Qisqacha o'zbekcha tushuntirib ketaman. Biofizikada tarixini inglizcha aytdim, buni ham ko'rsanglar bo'ladi, lekin birinchi biofizikaga oid eksperimentlar Louis Galvani tomonidan 1771-yil bajarilgan. Qanaqa qilingan? Bunda o'sha paytda qurbaqani olib turib, qurbaqani qornidan kesilgan holatda bo'lganda, undan keyin qurbaqada sciatic nerve degan nerv bor. Bu bizning oyoqlarimizni oyoq tomonda bo'ladi. Bu o'sha muskullarni innervatsiya qiluvchi, ya'ni muskulni harakatga keltiruvchi nerv bo'ladi. Va rasmda ko'rib turganingizdek, mana bu sciatic nervga bitta metal. Bu yerda mana bu bilan bu ikki xil metal bo'ladi. Mana shu ikki xil metalli bo'lish kerak, chunki bunda ya'ni elektr oqimi yuzaga keltiriladi. Va bitta metalli nervga tekizib, ikkinchi metalli oyoqda muskulga tekizilganda va mana shu metallar bir-biriga ulangan paytda muskul qisqaradi va xuddi qurbaqaning oyoq harakatlanayotganga o'xshaydi. Va mana shu narsa birinchi biofizik eksperiment sifatida tan olingan. Va undan keyin, let me speak in English again. So history of discoveries in biophysics, okay? So there were lots of discoveries related to biophysics and won a lot of fundamental and also very proper scientific prize. So for example, the first law of thermodynamics. This is very famous, and usually a lot of biophysics apply this kind of thermodynamics to biophysics. And optical aspects of the human eye, theory of hearing, Brown's motion, osmotic process. As you can see here, this is a very famous experiment of osmotic process. And non-equilibrium thermodynamics, discovery of X-rays, as you can see here, discovery of DNA structure, and as you can see here, information theory and statistical physics of biopolymers. So, demak, biofizika tarixidagi kashf qilingan kashfiyotlardan to'xtalib o'tamiz. Bu birinchisi termodinamikaning birinchi qonuni yoki inson ko'zini optik xususiyatlari yoki eshitish teoriyasi yoki Brown harakati, osmotic process, osmotic, ya'ni mana bu rasmda ko'rib turganingizdek, mana deylik yarim o'tkazuvchan membranani bir tarafiga tuzli suv qo'yib, bir tarafiga chuchuk suv qo'ysanglar, oddiy suv quysanglar, ma'lum vaqt o'tgandan keyin agar mana bu tuzli suv tarkibidagi tuzlar mana bu yerga, ya'ni osmotik jarayon orqali o'tish natijasida ikkala suvi ham tuzlilik darajasi bir xiloli kelishi mumkin. Bu ham bitta katta kashfiyot bo'lgan. Undan keyin rentgen turmush o'rtog'ini qo'lini tasodifan nur o'tkazish orqali, suyaklardan nur o'tmasligi orqali mana bu ko'rib turibsizlar, hatto uzuklargacha aniqlagan va tasodifan rentgen nurlarini aniqlangan. Bu ham biofizikaviy kashfiyot desa bo'ladi. Yoki DNK strukturasi. 1953-yil Watson va Craig Nobel mukofotini olishgan va bular ham aynan mana shu rentgen orqali, X-ray orqali DNK strukturasini aniqlashgan. Yoki ma'lumot teoriyasi yoki biopolimerlarning statik fizik xususiyatlari. So let me move to the next. So if you want to understand what biophysics is, you should understand mainly about the cell, okay? Because all our objects are made of the cells and the tissue and the other organs. So that's why let me explain a little bit about the cell. And so the size of the human cell and plant cell and unaided vision, light microscope and electron microscope. So as you can see here, a typical plant cell we can see by our naked eye. So which has chloroplast, mitochondrion, and this is a kind of egg size, okay? And later, if you move on to the more tiny objects, so this is a neuron cell body, and this is human red blood cell, E. coli, and the trypanosoma. This we need a kind of light microscope. And for example, the virus, polyvirus, DNA molecule, or bacteriophage, or others, we need a kind of electron microscope. Plus, biofizikada hujayrani bilish juda muhim ahamiyatga ega, chunki biz o'rganayotgan har qanday obyekt bu hujayralardan tashkil topgan bo'ladi. Ya'ni u organizm bo'ladimi, hayvonlarmi yoki o'simliklarmi, bari hammasi hujayralardan tashkil topgan. Demak, hujayralarni ko'rish uchun uchta bosqichda ko'rsa bo'ladi. Ya'ni oddiy ko'z bilan ko'riladigan, masalan, oddiy o'simlik hujayralarini yoki yorug'lik mikroskop orqali neyronlarni yoki insonni qizil qon tanachalari, tripanosomi yoki yoki biz undan ham chuqurroq, undan ham mayda obyektlarni, hujayralarni, masalan, elektron mikroskoplarda viruslarni yoki poliviruslarni, DNK molekulalarni ko'rsak bo'ladi. So, and here is the main paragraph of the cell difference between the plant cell and animal cell. So as you can see here, this is a plant cell and the animal cell. And one of the big difference is that the plant cell has a cell wall, which is impermeable to many objects. So that's one of the big difference. But there are some other unique organelles in the plant cell and animal cell. But I think you already know this kind of information from the botany in high school. Demak, hujayralar o'rganayotgan asosiy e'tibor bizda o'simlik hujayralari va hayvon hujayralariga bo'linadi. Va bu ikkita hujayraning bir-biridan farqi, eng katta farqi bu o'simlik hujayralarida hujayra devori bo'ladi, bu membranadan tashqari. Lekin ularning o'ziga xos organellalari ham bor. Bu haqda to'xtalib o'tirmayman. Chunki sizlar maktabda o'qilayotgan paytda o'simlik hujayralari va hayvon hujayralarining farqini juda yaxshi o'tgansizlar. So, next. So why do we need biophysics in plant cells? Okay, is there anything that we can learn that biophysics in plant cells? As you are agricultural and the gardening group, so I will explain about this one. For example, this is a kind of animal. This is animal. No, actually it's not. It's a plant, and this plant eats animals. Actually, it's insects. Okay. And they have this kind of trap system, and then when the small insects fly and sit on here and they capture it, and then they try to eat that. How do they sense? They sense through the ion channels on their surface. So that's why this we have to learn about them using biophysics techniques. And here is kind of transporters and the ion channels that are expressed in stomatal part of the plants. And as you can see here, this is also a plant, as you can plant leaves, and they called it mimosa. And if you touch this mimosa, it also tries to close it. Okay, so this is also biomechanics and biophysical feature of these plants. Ho'p, shu xo'jaligida biofizikaning qanaqa roli bor? Nima uchun o'rganish kerak? Mana bu o'simlik, bu hayvon emas. Bu mana shu o'simlik, bu hayvon, ya'ni hasharotlarni yeyuvchi o'simlik hisoblanadi. Agar hasharot mana shu o'simlikning qaysidir qismiga, mana ichki qismiga qo'nsa, mana bu ikkita tarafi avtomatik tarzda yopilish natijasida bu o'sha hasharotni o'ldiradi va stimul qiladi. Endi savol tug'iladi. Bular hasharot qo'nganini qayerdan biladi? Demakki, bularda sensorlar, ya'ni ion kanallar, oqsillar mavjud. Mana bu rasmda o'sha hujayraning stomatal qismidagi ekspressiya bo'lgan, ya'ni funksiyani bajaruvchi transporterlar va oqsillar bor, ya'ni ion kanallari bor. Va ikkinchi misol bu mimoza o'simligi. Agar mimoza o'simligining bargiga tegsangiz, avtomatik tarzda yopilib oladi. Ya'ni bu himoya funksiyasida. Demak, bular hammasi biomexanika, sezish va ion kanallarning ekspressiyasi bu o'simliklarni biofizikasini o'rganishda juda qo'l keladi. And the last is about the biophysics in agriculture. So why do we need is that we need the new techniques for more precise or faster breeding, use of genetic modification, but final plant product usually doesn't contain foreign DNA. So what's this about? This is about why do we need biophysics in agriculture in the future? Okay, because the more we live, the more the population increase, but our land and our ground doesn't change from time to time. So we need some kind of methods to increase our food and use new technologies, biophysical, biotechnological technologies, in order to intensify our methods and improve our feeding to the public. Okay, so that's why we use the biophysics in agriculture. Ho'p, kelajakda biofizikani qishloq xo'jaligida ishlatish nima uchun muhim? biza mana odamlar soni ko'paygan sari lekin yer, ya'ni bizani dehqonchilik qiladigan yerlarimiz o'zgarmaydi. Demakki, biz insonlarni yetarli miqdorda insonlarga oziq-ovqat yetishtirib berish uchun biz biofizika, biotexnologiyani yangi metodlarni qo'llagan holda kichkina joydan ko'p hosil olish texnologiyalarini yaratishimiz kerak yoki xavfsiz oziq-ovqat texnologiyalarini yaratishimiz kerak va bunda albatta biofizika muhim rol o'ynaydi. So that's enough for today. We have time. So if you have any questions, please ask me. Savollar bormi?
Yo'q savollar.
Savollar yo'q.
Bugun
Yo'q savollar.
bugungi o'tiladigan mavzu umuman bugungi yo undan keyin o'tiladigan mavzularda ham umuman biofizikani men dars o'tayotganimda hech narsani masalan raqam, qonuniyat, modda yoki nimalardir sizlar eslab qolishingiz shart emas. Faqat sizlar biofizika nima uchun kerak va kundalik hayotimizda nimalarga tatbiq qilsak bo'ladi biofizikani, umuman biofizika sohasida bo'layotgan oxirgi yangiliklar va eng asosiysi mana shu bog'dorchilik kafedrasida student ekansizlar, aynan shu bog'dorchilik qishloq xo'jaligiga mana shu olgan ma'lumot bilimlaringlarni qanaqa qilib joriy etish mumkin. Mana shu narsa haqida o'ylasanglar va menimcha mana shu leksiyalarni sizlarga foydasi bo'ladi. Tushunarlimi?
Tushunarli.
Tushunarli.
Unda soat
Tushunarli.
soat 11da yana xuddi shu link orqali ko'rishamiz va hozir men sizlarga aytib beraman.
Yana biofizika bo'ladimi? Hozir 11da boshqa hammi?
Yo'q, 11da ham xuddi shu biofizika, lekin 11da sizlarda nima bo'ladi? Seminar bo'ladi.
Hozir tanaffusmi?
Hozir 10dan 10:30 gacha edi dars. Hop, shu bilan soat 11da ko'rishamiz.
Xo'p, okey.
Xo'p, salomat bo'linglar.
Dars uchun rahmat.
So'rab qo'ying.
Hop,
Yaxshimisizlar keyin?
Yaxshi.
Vashi.
Ishlar
Nima gaplar
bo'lyaptimi?
Dostonbek? Dostonbek gapiring keldi.